Welcome to Loch Lomond, known as the Queen of Scottish Lochs. It's the largest expanse of fresh water in Great Britain, 23 miles long, 636 feet deep, making it the third deepest in Scotland. The River Lee, which we are in, is the Loch's own, running from here to the River Clyde in Mark. Then, to the Black Ocean. The area is home to an abundance of wildlife. Its history is rich in the landscape surrounding the sea. It's a place where kings have trod and outlaws roam. It has inspired writers, musicians and artists for generations. It was during the Victorian era that Loch Lomond became famous across the world, thanks in large part to the romantic novels of the likes of Balloch Scotland and Balloch Scotland. Day trippers would travel here by train from Glasgow to cruise aboard large paddle steamers like the one we're passing on the left. This is the Maid of Balloch, the very last paddle steamer to be built in Britain. She was built in 1953 on the River Clyde in Glasgow and brought to Loch Lomond by train in sections before being assembled on the loch site. She represents those bygone days where she and many ships like her would sail the length of the loch perfectly. These ships also provided valuable mail and transportation service to the local community. As with many coal and steam powered vehicles, mounting maintenance and running costs saw the ship retired in 1981. She now stands as a monument to both Glasgow shipbuilding and Loch Lomond's steam powered department. The large building we are passing on our left is Cameron House. Cameron House was built in the 18th century by the smaller family, a family of shipbuilders and merchants whose most famous member was the poet and novelist Tobias Smollett. Such was the wealth and influence of its monarch. The House has welcomed a few famous guests of its time. Former Prime Ministers Winston Churchill and Anthony Eden, as well as Empress Eugenia of France. As was the case with many ancestral homes across Britain, the costs of upkeep, staff and servants became unsustainable for the family. It was sold in 1996, and after extensive additions to the original building, Allen House was converted into a luxury five-star hotel and resort. The large house on the hill that you may be able to spot between the trees on the left is Auchendennan House. Auchendennan House was commissioned in 1860 by the Glasgow-based tobacco merchant George Martin and was designed by famous Scottish architect John Balloch. During the Second World War, the house was used as a convalescing home for American servicemen coming from France. After the war, as a goodwill gesture, the house was converted into a youth hostel, thanks to a generous donation from American trade unions. The house remained a youth hostel until 2012. Today it is owned by Loch Lomond Distillery, who use it as a base for the rocket. The house also marks the site of the hunting lodge of King Robert the Bruce, who owned much of the land and islands in Loch Lomond. These he used as his private hunting estate, introducing much of the deer and game birds to the islands and surrounding areas. Looking between the loch's west bank on our left and across to the east bank to our far right, this is the widest part of Loch Lomond, at a distance of 5 miles. As we look ahead, you may be able to notice a line can be drawn between the hills on each shore and the islands between them. This is the Highland boundary fault line, which cuts across Scotland, separating the Highlands from the Lowlands. It's a geological fault created when the islands that form Scotland crashed together 500 million years ago. It runs from Stonehaven, Aberdeenshire in the east, to the Isle of Arran in the west. The difference can also be seen in the surrounding landscape as the rolling hills and meadows of the lowlands behind us make way to the rugged peaks of the Highlands ahead. As we cross this boundary, we'll enter into the Scottish Highlands. This fact earns Loch Lomond the title, the gateway to the Highlands. Before the Industrial Revolution of the 1800s, the meeting of these two contrasting landscapes was reflected in the meeting of two contrasting cultures. The hardier, more traditional Highland clans, and the increasingly genteel lowlanders. This melting pot situation often led to disagreements and conflict. Not far from here, behind the hills to Loch Lomond's southwestern bank on our left, lies Glen Fruin, or the Glen of Sorrow. Glen Fruin is the site of one of the most gruesome battles in Scotland's history. In 1603, a dispute between two rival clans, the Hume and the Gregor, culminated in two meetings for a pitched battle in the Glen. Despite being outnumbered 2-1, the hardier and more battle-experienced MacGregors managed to flank the Hume forces, and what began as a battle became a massacre. The story goes that for the 200 casualties that the Hume suffered, the MacGregors lost only 2. To further demonstrate the contrasting cultures between Highland and Lowland living, the battle was observed by local students and scholars who, according to local legend, were also put to the sword. Due to the mercilessness of MacGregors, King James VI had their clan chiefs executed and decreed that the MacGregor name was to be abolished by pain of death, a judgment that would not be lifted until 1775, 172 years later. While Scotland and the British Isles were formed 500 million years ago, it may surprise you to know that Loch Lomond only dates back 12,000 years to the end of the last ice age. At that time, Scotland was covered in glacial ice, up to a mile deep in places. As this ice melted away over centuries, it gouged deep canyons into the land, forming the many famous lochs of Scotland. In its early years, Loch Lomond was connected to the sea before the land at the southern end rose up, trapping the water, which is now replenished by the burns and rivers of the surrounding hills and mountains. The loch's catchment area for rainfall is 270 square kilometres, and its water level can fluctuate by as much as 3 metres between the seasons. The shoreline of Loch Lomond's southwestern bank, to the left, is home to 2 world-famous championship golf courses. The first is the Carrick, opened in 2006 and designed by the famed Canadian golf course architect, Doug Carrick. The second, and most famous, is the Loch Lomond golf course, designed by the American golfer Tom Weiskopf, and is revered by golfers the world over. Described by Tom Weiskopf as his lasting memorial to golf, the 7,100-yard part-time course hosted the Barclays Scottish Open for many years, as well as the Solvang Cup, and ranks among the best courses in the world. The club itself is among the world's most exclusive, and its invite-only membership list boasts names from all over the world. The course record of 61 is held by the South African golfer, Retief Goosen. Looking to our left, the large mountains at its head in the clouds, is the iconic Ben Lomond. Ben Lomond stands at 3,192 feet and is the most southerly of Scotland's 282 Munros, a Munro being a Scottish mountain over 3,000 feet. It's a very popular mountain with hill walkers, and on a clear day has views as far out as the north coast of Ireland. The name Ben Lomond translates as Beacon Mountain, Ben coming from Gaelic word for mountain, and Lomond from the Brittonic word Lomia, meaning beacon. It's thought a single beacon would be lit at the top of the mountain by the Brittonic tribes who populated this area between the 5th and 10th centuries. There are 6 other mountains in the world named Ben Lomond: in Canada, the United States, New Zealand, Tasmania and Australia, all of them named after the one we see here today by Scottish settlers to remind themselves of home. The 23 named islands of Loch Lomond are known as the Jewels of Loch Lomond. Each has their own unique distinct legend. In ancient times, the islands became home to Britain. There are the remains of ancient that listen listeners to several accounts, as well as claims of many warships and vessels. One of Loch Lomond's islands in the island of Scotland is even home to around 50 populace, which were brought from Australia in the 1940s. The island we approach is the largest island. This is the island of Ishmael. Ishmael is a mile and a half long, about half a mile wide. It's the largest inland island. The island has been inhabited since the 6th century, and the monks has never settled much. Between the trees of man, the smoke of the native is massive. The castle was built by young Greek developers. It was, for a short time, the residence of many Queen of Scotland before her capture and execution on Norwich for hostels and Queen Elizabeth of Washington. Much later, another famous president was given legendary sculpture called Roaring who led a night raid, which by this time was used as base for common forces. He and his clan stole the island's hand, as well as all the private folks to avoid pursuit. Today the island is privately owned by the Loch family. They have a small farm to the land of Israel, and is a very popular destination in summer for local boaters and watchers of the visitors. During the summer months there are ferry services between the island and Ireland for visitors. Whilst the early inhabitants in the area were more concerned with making a living with farming and fishing, much of Loch Lomond's history is connected with its use for recreational activities. Many of the islands and surrounding landscape is historically used for hunting by the noble class of Scotland. Much of the wildlife in the area was introduced for the purpose of hunting. Recreational fishing has also been a popular pastime over the centuries. In 2013, the Loch Lomond Angling Association introduced a catch and release policy in the area, which has seen not only the number of fish increase, but also an increase in the numbers of menacing birds patrolling the area. There are many famous walks and trails around the Loch Lomond. One of the most famous being the West Highland Way, which starts in nearby Loch, stretches past Loch Lomond at Clontarf and Balloch and all the way to Loch Lomond. In more recent times, recreational activities in Loch Lomond have become dominated by water sports. The local rowing club is among the oldest in the world, having been founded in 1827, but also more recently, open water swimming and paddle polo have become increasingly popular pastimes for locals and visitors alike. The loch and its shore are home to a variety of mammals, including wildcats, deer and goats, as well as around 200 species of birds that inhabit or visit the Pacific. The most renowned of these being golden eagles, dolphins, and ospreys. The loch itself is also home to around 14 species of fish, the most prominent being salmon and sea shells. There is also a rare type of freshwater herring called herring, which can only be found in 3 other lochs in Scotland. On one of Loch Lomond's islands, it's fine. There is also a mob of walrus, who are first introduced to the 1950s.